Hi everybody, this is Becca from Becca Town Sims. I wanted to do a new video today to show you one of my more recent builds. This style is something that I had not seen much or really any of on the gallery or in other speed builds or even on Instagram. It's called a SALTBOX house. So as you can see from the front here, the SALTBOX house really resembles a colonial, and in fact it is a colonial style. It's sort of a subset. So you've got a really traditional facade that's got a central door. Doors usually probably have a transom over it, but since I didn't have any good colonial looking doors that weren't too modern, I took this one from Jungle Adventures. That's what I used for the front door because it's got that wooden beam in the center of it that had the right look to me, even though I know it's like from a different kind of pack entirely. So the facade was really symmetrical, central door like I said, and then you would have evenly spaced windows, a central chimney, and the roof line is what makes this type of colonial more interesting. So what you would have is, with these colonial houses, they would build maybe an addition in the back, a lean-to or something, and then continue the roof all the way from the top through the back of the building. So when you look at the side of a SALTBOX house, you're seeing 2 stories in the front and then 1 story in the back, but the roof is one continuous line. And that is not a style that we see a lot of in the United States just because they're so old. So these type of houses, we have examples from like the mid 1600s, so they're really old for the United States. And you've got some that continue, probably the style was popular maybe until the 1700s. There might be newer houses with this style of roof. In fact, I have here in New England, I have seen some modern houses, contemporary houses that have used this roof line, which is really confusing to me because when I am driving around or walking around, I like to look at architecture and kind of guess the age of the house, and it really throws me for a loop when I see historical styles being put on contemporary buildings, because then I don't know if it was just updated really well or if it's new. So I don't like that, but people do it. So for the story of this house, what I have as my headcanon is that this is an original colonial house that maybe a retired couple bought and live in, and so they keep it updated while still preserving the history of the house. So internally, what you might see in a SALTBOX house are some exposed beams. You would probably see some on the ceiling too, but I can't do that in Sims, so I just went for here on the walls. I added in some columns to kind of look like exposed woodwork. And I put in the wooden plank floors. Those were very common. I put bricks into the kitchen, which I think is maybe not typical, but people definitely did it just to make the kitchens a little bit less prone to catching on fire. I kept the walls. I think this is a stucco in The Sims I used in the living room and some of the bedroom walls to give it sort of that like plaster look that you might have seen in an original SALTBOX house. And then I went with this wood paneling in the kitchen to brighten it up a little bit, but still, I think it still looks like it respects the history of the house. I was trying to keep the color palette soft on the inside. So these, if you've ever been into a colonial home, the roofs are very low, the ceilings are low, because New England winters were very cold, and that helped make heating more efficient to have the low ceiling. So they can seem really dark, especially because the windows were also small. So I put a lot of blue on the interior, trying to kind of lighten it up and bring the outdoors indoors a little bit. Another way that I tried to give this house a historical feel was through the fireplaces. So the colonial homes had really large fireplace areas, a big hearth, and we don't have a lot of options in The Sims without resorting to CC. So I just use these big fireplaces and I put a brick wall behind them to kind of give the idea that maybe there was some history there, that the original fireplaces would have been there behind where the brick is. They also used to have a lot of like built-in cupboards, which I couldn't really replicate. So a moment ago in the living room, you saw me put the bookshelves behind the couch. That's what I was going for. Although your Sims probably can't reach the books, but I like the look that it gave it. For the rest of the house, like the furnishings, I was trying to just keep it a little bit rustic, a little bit rural, but still something that would be totally usable for like modern Sims. So I've been in several updated colonial houses, and I think that they always have just really interesting mismatches, how do you say that, of style, because if they've been lived in continuously, people have been doing renovations to them for hundreds of years. So you'll see maybe like a contemporary bathroom, some Victorian elements, the colonial fireplace, like just little bits of history all over the house. So I wanted a little bit of that like mix of styles here, while still preserving the colonial aspects. Putting this shelf here was one of my mistakes, actually, which you will see later. So I put this little end table at the end of the hallway just to like give it a little bit of visual interest. And then later, when I was working outdoors, I decided to put a door there and I had to move it. So you'll see that soon. Working on the upstairs for the bedrooms. Since I pictured this as the house of a retired couple, I kept the bedrooms a little bit more neutral, almost like guest bedrooms, because to me, in the story I'm telling myself, like their kids might come visit for the weekend, bring their families and stay in the guest bedrooms, but I didn't want them to be children's bedrooms because what a dark house to raise kids in, with so many like things they could break, and I don't know. So they're the bedrooms are just a little bit more generic than I would normally do for kids' rooms. Although I do like this yellow and green one. I think it came out pretty nice, very bright. I think when I was making this yellow bedroom, I was also thinking like, oh, their adult daughter probably is a little bit younger, and maybe she stayed in this room for a little bit as a teenager when her parents first bought the house, so it has a few traces of her, and that's the room she always picks when she comes home to visit. The red room here I thought of really as more of just a guest bedroom. It's a little bit just simpler, more generic. So I actually did the opposite of what I normally do, and that is I did the interior of this house before I did the exterior. And I went through a lot trying to choose the color of this paint. So a lot of the SALTBOX houses that I have seen, they're usually wooden siding, sometimes shingles. I thought shingles at first, but then I found that gray clapboard and I was like, oh, that's a nice look. So you'll see I left the gray for a really long time, but I experimented with a lot of different things because I also found that the gray was really somber with the dark brown. So I like it, but I wasn't sure if I loved it, and I still don't know if I made the right choice. As you saw, I tried a lot of different color options on the exterior. I also really like the red, something bright. And then I was looking at pictures of other SALTBOX homes, and I saw a yellow one, which is why I think not yet, but soon you'll see me update it to yellow. And I still don't know how I feel about the yellow, but it was bright and it contrasted with the dark brown. So I went with that. So here, what just happened is I keep getting this error with my fences. So sometimes when you have move objects on and I place the gate on a fence, it'll delete the fence and the game acts like it's still there, and I'm not exactly sure what's happening, if it's an error with my graphics card, if it's some kind of glitch from move objects, but I had to restart the game to get my fence to display properly again. So that's what happened there. Since this house is rural to me, I wanted there to be space for a garden, which is why I built the little fence area. So the Sims could maybe like put some gardening boxes inside that area. I don't know, do some other outdoor activities. I just wanted it to look rural, so I gave them the B-box too. And also, you know, like some wild plants around. Lots of lavender for that like country look, although lavender probably does not grow very well in New England because there's not that much sun. So that is my rural New England SALTBOX house. I hope that you liked it. If you did, let me know, like it or subscribe or leave me a comment or something just to let me know if you liked it. Yeah, and it's on the gallery if you want to download it. So thank you for watching.